Under clear skies on a special Friday afternoon, we welcome you to Adamstown Oval for round 9 of the Northern New South Wales NPL, and what a setting it is for match of the round. Today isn't just about football, it's about tradition, mateship and honour. It's the third annual Anzac Cup clash between Adamstown Rosebuds and the Weston Bears, and fittingly it falls directly on Anzac Day. A day reminding us all of courage and sacrifice and the values that echo through sport and service alike. Rosebuds have been a tough side to figure out this season, moments of real promise, then setbacks just as quickly. But after a strong 4-0 cup win during the week, Chris Moylan's men will be hoping that momentum carries into today. And they'll certainly need it because Weston are the real deal. The Bears come in just ahead of Adamstown on the table, and while they're coming off a narrow league loss, they bounce back with authority midweek. An 8-2 thumping in the cup that reminded everyone just how dangerous they are. It is a great occasion today, community on show. Previously we had the Adamstown Brigade with a moving Anzac tribute and juniors from both clubs leading their heroes out. It is more than a game today, it is a moment of commemoration. Joining me today is someone who knows big football moments well, former Edgeworth Eagles boss and current Newcastle Jets youth coach, Damien Zane. Damien, a big stage today, what are you expecting from this one?
Thanks for having me, first of all, and probably expect a spirited game on such a big day. It's good that there's a couple of matches I noticed on the day, so that's exciting. Adamstown have had a good start, and are Weston the real deal this year? You know, they always threaten to be a side that they're very dangerous to play, but a bit inconsistent, but they seem to have found a bit of consistency this year, so it should be a good matchup.
It certainly looks like a good matchup. Plenty of names to watch on both sides, but the two names I'm going to pick out, and I'd love your thoughts on them. One, a man who's played in a number of the NPL leagues in Chris Hatfield, who's leading the way for Weston. And then on the other side, the experience, the veteran that is Dino Fajkovic.
Yeah, well, Dino's been around a long time. I even played against him when he was young. So he's been amazing for the young Buds team. Still scoring goals. And I imagine very good in the sheds. As far as Chris Hatfield, I did a few Graham Jennings votes last year, and I watched him a bit, and he looks very, very dangerous. And yeah, he'll be a threat, I'd say, all day.
Well, he certainly found his way to the back of the net already this season a number of times. He leads the Bears with 5 goals. Take a quick look as we get set and get started with kickoff at the 2 lineup, starting with Weston. In goals for them is 30, George Stevens. Number 3, Mana Iwasaki. 4, Dom Archbold. 6, Chris Hurley. 8, Dylan Burston. 9, that man we talked about, Chris Hatfield, who will lead their attack as we get underway. 10, Aaron Niankuru. Number 11, Blake Archbold. 12 is Cooper Buswell. 18, Burke Farling. And 41 is Musa Kamara. They are coached by Q Jarlians. For Adamstown, in goals will be George Scorer in 13. Their backline, Narveen Richardson in 2, Tom Smart in 3, Dane Lawther in 4, Michael Burns in 5. In the 7 jersey will be Will Davidis. As we just see Weston clearing this away from their defensive lines. Number 8, Charlie Naylor. 9, again, that man at the head of the attack, Dino Fajkovic. 10 is Taj Buck. 11 out wide will be Riley Ornger. On the other side will be number 15, Nico Gismiro. And you see Adamstown trying to fight for that man, Gismiro. But it'll be a throw-in for Weston. Looking for an early opening. Burston just seeing what presents. Looking for an open man here. Will he shape for the long throw? It's exactly where he goes, throwing it almost to the top of the box. It's just headed defensively. And retreating back there, Tom Smart pushes it across the sideline, trying to avoid an early corner. I talked about it in the intro, Damien. The home side here, Adamstown, have been hard to get a read on this year. At their best, they've been brilliant, but then we've also seen them fade out of games. The first round was a match of the round against the newly promoted Bell Swans. They led that game 2-1 and then somehow fell behind to lose 5-2.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's having a young team. Those inconsistencies will be there, but I'd say that they're pretty happy with the start, to be honest. After last year just surviving, they've had a pretty good start, and there's a few young ones, Charlie Naylor, Dane Lawther at the back. They're still young, but they've got a few games under their belt now. So I'd say that's probably, you know, helping them get the results on the board.
It's certainly an interesting one. I think there was a few Adamstown fans that might have thought the sky was falling after that first round and were dreading what was happening. And if you had told them that 8 weeks later they'd be sitting nipping at the heels of the top 5, they would have eagerly taken it. So it's been a good turnaround since that first round. All of a sudden, breaking down the left here is Burston. What can he conjure for Weston? First attempt, crossing it into the box. No one at the back post for the Bears, though. And Riley Ornger will just clear that away. And as you touched on there, they are a young side overall, this Adamstown team, but some of these key pieces that have come in, Riley Ornger's one of those. You know, he played down in Mildura originally, and now he's found his way via Valentine to Adamstown.
Yeah, he was another one. I'm sure I gave him some votes last year. He was a real interesting player down at Valentine, and he's an amazing pickup, I think, for them, and just gives them another focal point to their attack other than just relying on Dino.
Certainly an area they've looked at on the balls, one of those key pieces when we look at Gizmiro, the Uruguayan import.
Yeah, I can't say I've seen much of him, but yeah, it looks like they've got an interesting front line this year, and it's probably why they've got 9 points on the board.
Certainly starting to have some other angles of attack to complement the experience of Fajkovic being a key part for them. That pass is not going to help their cause. All of a sudden, Weston break on the counter. What can they conjure here? Farling tries to thread the ball. He was looking for Niankuru. Not completely dealt with. Pushed wide now. Does well to keep it in the field of play. Challenge from behind, but the referee says play on. Starting to resemble a bit more of WWE than NPL over there.
Yeah, he's a powerful unit, that Farling. I'm not sure where he's from. It's a new name to me, but very powerful looking, and probably unlucky not to get a free kick himself there.
Yeah, I think he's the player they signed from over in the US, Tacoma.
Okay.
So again, it's even the dress code's a little different. The high shorts, the full leg sleeve. It's a distinctive look.
Yep.
He stands out there.
And you look in midfield. Davidas is a fairly imposing figure. There's some big units in the midfield, which is bit different than normal.
Certainly is, as Adamstown look for an optimistic ball out in front of Taj Buck, but it doesn't work out. Taj Buck, speaking of distinctive looks, is that long flowing hair that he's got. Looks like he's got it sort of tied back in a bit of a knot there. It's, go back 15 or 20 years, you wouldn't have seen many of those hairstyles floating around.
They'd get a yank probably, but yeah, times have changed.
Certainly have. We see some of the more flamboyant hairstyles. The higher up the pyramids of football you go, the more flamboyant I think they get on a regular basis. Weston looking for a ranging attack again. Burston working down that side, on the left flank. Pushes it back. A little bit of miscommunication there between Burston and Kamara. They do get the throw. Burston into the box. Brought down, using the shoulder, not quite dealt with. Farling sends it wide now. Laid off out to the right. Looking for the 1-2, but they played into the box with Niankuru. Back out again. Just looking to work the gaps into the Adamstown defence, but can't quite do it. Meanwhile, Adamstown, Davidas, that man you talked about before,
yeah,
bring it out.
He doubled up on Chris Hatfield. He got the ball in the box there, and the midfielder came and doubled up. I think that's important because when Hatfield gets it around the box, you need to know that there's danger, and that was a good job by Davidas defensively there.
Now, Adamstown trying to break down that right wing with Gizmiro. Nice little touch on for Farling, but no one there, and it trickles across the line. Yeah, we talked about it with Hatfield before. He's played in the Queensland NPL, the Victorian NPL, and the New South Wales NPL before coming here. And, you know, again, not with insignificant clubs. You know, we're not talking fringe clubs. Lions FC, Dandenong Thunder and Marconi. So the experience that he brings to this lineup, I'll be a little flattering. He's just 30 years of age, which still means he's got plenty of football in him. Yeah,
mate, 30 now, the guys will take that good a care of themselves that, he's got a few more
Dangerous
years.
Into the box here. Buck will get a shot away. Diving effort, though, from Stevens. Well, yeah, if you look at Ben Kennedy and Nicola Topper-Stanley, he's got at least another decade.
Yeah, some guys are blessed with the genes they're born with. Good save by George Stevens. He's been training with the youth team. He was training and didn't have a club. Was just loved the game, and he was a great influence at our training. And Weston were after a keeper, and it's a good story. He's a great kid, and he works really hard, and he's doing quite well, having a good year. So it's great news.
You'd love to see those stories where things just come together nicely and work well for player and club. As Gizmiro tries to body out on Burston. A bit of attempted flare there, doesn't quite work out for him. Optimistic strike. It's going to be a challenging one into the sun, and Stevens does well. Looking straight into the sun, takes that with both hands.
I was very concerned after just talking him up then. I could see that one going through his hands, but he's done well, to be fair. The sun's shining right in his eyes, I'd imagine.
I think even Will DeVitas, when he hit that, didn't think that was going anywhere near the goals. Looked like it was going to go out onto Glebe Road here. And just sat up there and created a bit of trouble, but Stevens does well and lives up to the hype.
Yes. I tell you, Will DeVitas looks like he's putting a lot of pressure in there, and if he can create some turnovers, you can see Adamstown's ready to jump out on the break. So he looks really aggressive in there anytime their midfielders get in on it. So we know Q loves his teams to play, but they're going to have to be careful of that transition moment when they lose the ball, and hopefully for them limit the amount of times they do it.
Another thing that Q and the Bears are going to have to be cognizant of is they've got a busy schedule. They had cup football midweek. They've got a catch-up game next Wednesday against Lambton, which is obviously a crucial game again, with the Jaffers dwelling a fair way down the ladder in a very unfamiliar position for them as well. And then obviously into the next weekend. So you've got 4 games in what is about 11 days for the Bears. It's lots of players would be happy just to keep playing football and not train, right?
Yeah, more games equals less training equals happy players. So especially what it can do is you can get on a roll in 11 days. You get 4 wins and you've got your tails up. So vice versa, it can change pretty quickly too. So I'm sure the players are happy with more games.
Well, momentum is a funny thing, as Vajkovic trying to get free here. A little bit of jersey holding maybe both ways. The referee happy to let it go for the time being, as it's now brought forward. Onga's got it. Chips it forward, looking for Vajkovic, but he's back to goal and was heading in the wrong direction, so it trickles forward to Stevens. And just bring it out and lay it off for Chris Hurley.
Weston's obviously going to dominate possession, but you just feel the territory Adamstown's getting their way up. They're going to have to keep that ball, but just pushing a few passes there, and
you can see that's happening a little, but some good covering there from Naveen Richardson there. Defending nice and compact as Gizmiro now has an opportunity. Wide on the right. Cross it into the box. Buck couldn't quite get a touch on it. It's not done yet, though. Vajkovic gets a second touch with the head, and then it's headed away defensively by Dom Archbold, which will mean it'll be the first corner of the game. And again, an interesting period of play there. You feel if Taj Buck had just got a touch on that, that was probably finding its way into the back of the net.
Yeah, no, I tell you, that it's really important, that first run. And he came out of nowhere, actually. Just my eyes went straight to him, and he was quite explosive, his movement there, and nearly freed up the space for Dino. Well, like you said, if he gets a touch to that, it's going to fly in.
Again, they escape this one off target. But Adamstown showing that they're prepared to turn up the pressure in trying to seize this Anzac Cup that Weston currently hold. And they also know that as the ladder currently sits, while they're in 6th, there is a little gap there, 4 points, and a loss today would start to open that up, whereas a win would put them right in the mix as we get past that third of the way through the season.
Yeah, I think a bit disappointed, Dane. He didn't hit the target at least there. It's fell fairly nicely for him.
Field wants to try and bring it down. Bodies out. Controls it well. Can't get a decent shot on target, though. No power behind the attempt.
And especially when Chris Hurley's on the ball, Adamstown, Hatfield just drifted inside Tommy Smart there, and Dane Lauder's got to be aware that he's off his shoulder there and track that run and cover, and because Chris Hurley's got that 40-yard pass in him. So, yeah, nearly catastrophic for Adamstown there. It's just a simple ball, but yeah, if you fall asleep with Hatfield, he'll punish you.
You saw in close quarters his strength there as Gizmiro now switching across. Takes what would probably be described as an optimistic strike from long range. But as I was saying there, Hatfield one-on-one with Smart. He just showed his ability to get the body position alongside him and then use the shoulder to get in front and get that pole running. It didn't work out quite for them, but they won't want to allow that too often, as you say.
No, once he's got the advantage over you, he's pretty wily striker, and yeah, they escaped one there. On the flip side, just then, I think you saw Will DeVita's won the ball, forward passing to Dino. That's obviously a bit of their game plan. Win the ball, play forward. Just rush in the pass again. Well, actually, he had a shot from 40 yards, but, you know, Riley Ornger was coming down the left. So just got to be a bit more patient when they do transition.
Vanjkovic doing well, but sliding tackle in the end from Kamara takes it across the sideline. Adamstown a throw now in good attacking territory. If you didn't manage to catch the earlier reserve grade fixture here, it came down to a thrilling finish. Adamstown held off a fast finishing Weston. They led 4-1 midway through the second half, and it finished 4-3 with Weston peppering forward late in the game.
Yeah, Weston's had a pretty good reserve team for a few years now. They've got some good young players. We played them in pre-season, our under-20s, and yeah, that's a good win by Adamstown.
Certainly is a good one to start out the day. Nice ball from Hatfield. What can they conjure here? Just past the diving keeper. No touch on it, says the referee. Weston trying to sell it. Blake Archbold, a little disappointed his shot was off target and just trying to hoodwink the referee into a corner. Yeah,
well, I guess Adamstown have to beware also when Weston transition to attack. They've got some dangerous players up there. Archbold, Nyankuru and Hatfield, obviously, we've talked about. And then you've got Cooper Buswell as the 10, so it's quite a decent front line. It sort of looks like a front line of a team that could challenge this year. So, yeah, I'd say they're getting a bit excited with they're starting to find some consistency. And I thought it was a great sign they beat Bell Swans, because I thought that was the type of game they've in the past let themselves down with. And so I think they're the real deal this year. I think they're going to be up there challenging.
Well, looking at form, they're certainly one of probably the three form teams behind our two leaders in Broadmeadow and Edgeworth. I know they slipped against Broadmeadow last round, but they've won 4 of their last 5. They're really starting to build something, and as you said, they're winning those games that you have to win, which is sometimes the big difference between those teams in 3rd, 4th and 5th and the teams that are just outside the 5.
Yeah, and to be fair, when I was coaching at Edgeworth and Broadmeadow, even they were always such a tough team to play. And on their day, we always felt one of the most dangerous teams, but the consistency always sort of let them down at times. They play a good style of football under Q, and it's good to watch. It's an attacking brand, and yeah, if they can find that consistency, they've got some attacking weapons there.
And I look forward to it. I think it's a good sign for football in northern New South Wales when we've got that sort of coalfields region represented well, and we know Maitland's been there and thereabouts in recent years, so good to see Weston up and about this early part of the season. As Farling plays it back now, Burston crossing it to the top of the box. It's going to beat the advancing attack for the Bears, though, and Adamstown will clear it for the time being. Buck gets a nice friendly deflection off the back of Kamara there. Plays it out in front of Vanjkovic. Gets laid down for his trouble. I'm not sure what happened there in back play. Vanjkovic gets some contact in the box. The referee says stand up and get on with it. He's not going to be sold on anything. Acrobatics at the back there, but play on.
That was a great little sign from Taj Buck. I talked about his explosiveness getting in for that cross, and that was a nice little burst there and a lovely weighted ball to Dino. And I'd say back when I was playing Dino, he might have skipped around the defender there, but
age slowly creeps up on all of us, though, as we know too well.
Yeah, no one escapes it.
He's still doing his best to defy it at the moment. Dino Vanjkovic, Taj Buck on the ground again. It's interesting. I think the referees this year have done a wonderful job on the games that we've covered, matched around, and I'm assuming it's been across the league in terms of if players are giving as good as they're getting, they're just letting them get on with it, which is, you know, as a fan and someone like yourself who's been involved in football for a long time, that's what we come here to see, is to see the football happening. We don't want to see all the stoppages. So if players are going to both hold each other's jerseys and dance around, well, I love that adage of just letting them play.
Yeah, no, I agree. Consistency is always the key, isn't it? At the same time, you don't want to see the whistle getting blown non-stop. You want the game to flow, and you know, I think we're known in our region for physicality. So, you know, I think the refs have adapted well and are letting the game flow.
Certainly, as you say, a bit of flow, a bit of consistency, and you'll keep the majority of the fans happy.
Yes.
Flag goes up here. Offside, just over halfway, so Weston will bring it back and get us restarted in a moment. George Stevens was creeping up there. He wanted to get involved again and take that. But they move on too quickly. Threaded nicely. Hatfield free on the edge of the 18-yard box. Can he find a target inside? There's numbers pushing up. Plenty of people in the box. Plenty of traffic. Drops it back now. Chipped in. Oh! The bicycle almost came off for Weston. George Scorer was left stranded. I don't think anyone saw that coming. Was that Blake Archbold that took that, and he's, I think, maybe knocked the wind out of himself, saying it.
Yeah, not sure. It's a fantastic effort. His brother played the ball in. He's confident from the supporters here. Not sure whether he got a hit there or is it...
I think he just landed.
Yeah.
Flat on it. And that's what happens with the acrobatics.
Yeah.
You got to. We'll give him 10 for the strike and 2 for the landing.
Yeah. Just in the lead up there, Dane Law left his feet, and against someone like Chris Hatfield, it was sort of a bit of a fatigue action, and it's quite warm, you know, out there, and just got to make sure young Buds team don't make those errors, because Weston nearly punished them there. And
it's an old adage in pretty much every code, isn't it? You know, keeping your feet so crucial, especially when you're up against someone like a Chris Hatfield, as you say. Like, it's hard to mark him once you're on the deck.
Yep. And you're going to find you position yourself wrong at times, but then if you sell yourself as well, you just compound the error.
Oh, exchange both ways in midfield. Drop back now for Stevens. He'll take his time, roll it out to Hurley. Skipper, plenty of time, goes the long pass off the left out wide.
It's well defended too by Michael Burns. He was at Magic in the 18s when I was there. Real interesting player, quite good feet for a really tall guy. Obviously made the move to get more first grade minutes, which is understandable, and he just defended really well there. Stayed narrow, but not too narrow, and got out there on the diagonal pass and intercepted it.
Stevens takes that easily.
I think that's where they've got to get better, Adamstown. They're in the half. I think they can play a bit more there and try and camp down here and create some pressure. And we all know pressure eventually leads to goals. I think they just rush in those moments, and it's just really a nothing ball and giving it back to Weston.
And that difference of experience versus youth, as this one finds its way all the way back down to one of the most ironically named players on the field, George Scorer. I think a goalkeeper named Scorer. I'm not sure. I feel like he was born to be a striker, but he's ended up with the gloves on.
He was another boy that was in the lower grades at Magic when I was there, and went to Charlestown, and obviously come to Adamstown to get some first grade minutes. So it's good. A lot of young guys playing.
Patrick trying to thread the ball. I'm not sure who he's throwing the hands up in the air for. A little nudge in the back there, but the referee happy to play on. Not shoulder to shoulder. No, the referee's playing advantage.
Again, I thought they rushed that, and Fadge is fairly experienced, but Burns was getting wide on the left, and I feel they're just playing a bit too quickly forward when the attacking transition isn't on. Is maybe building the attack and using the width and letting those fullbacks get forward.
Barling works his way through between two defenders. Tries to get close quarters touch, but it's deflected over the byline, so Weston will get their first corner. It just looks like they take it quickly too. Weston Farling now at the corner of the 18-yard box, continues coming across, just slices it in. Niankuru can be hit from range. Blake Archibald, the bicycle didn't do it, but the strike from 20 yards will. And Blake Archibald opens the scoring here in the Anzac Cup. He gets his 4th of the season, and Weston lead 1-0.
Yeah, it's a lovely finish, but I think they'll be disappointed the way that ball came in, and Niankuru was able to control it. There's very little pressure. The finish part is unstoppable, but the phase before that, I think they weren't really switched on to the short corner, and they've paid for it.
Blake Archbold certainly got some enthusiastic fans in the crowd. Giving him stick before they get behind him now that he's scored. It's a roller coaster supporting Weston and Archibald early. They lead at 1-0. Great strike from outside the box to get it started. Adamstown now will need to try and find a response to hit the midway point of this first half. Smart burns to the outside, threads the ball. Gizmiro got caught flat-footed. Now it's threaded forward. Archibald full of confidence, can't come away with it. Adamstown try and take it directly through the middle. Buck says no, let's go wider. Gizmiro and Fajkovic. And it comes off Hurley to come across the sideline. It'll be a throw just on the attacking side of halfway. Richardson takes the throw. Lots of numbers in around the ball. Headed forward. Hatfield shrugs off the attention of Smart. Beats wide. And we're going to have a foul here for the slide.
Yeah, he's a very good player, isn't he, on the ball? He's just a clever striker. Quite elusive with his feet and a good finisher, so he's a really good pickup.
Nice little lofted ball there from Farling out wide. Archbold at the top of the box. Laid off little 1-2 and struck again, this time just over the crossbar. The Archbolds combined and that looked dangerous for Weston. They nearly doubled their lead.
Yeah, they are. Great combination. I hear they fight a lot at home, so parents don't see that combination at home. But
save that for on the pitch. And there's more coming through the ranks.
Yeah. The younger brother Oscar's with us at the Jets. He's a goalkeeper and he's an amazing goalkeeper. So hopefully he comes through the ranks, and we've got high hopes for him. So it's a pretty talented family.
Hatfield now one-on-one with the keeper. The flag stays down. Can he finish? Beautiful run, Chris Hatfield. One-on-one with the keeper. He beats scorer. Doubles the lead for Weston. They lead 2-0 early here at Adamstown Oval.
Yeah, there's that run off shoulders, and in that transition moment, you need to have your rest defence behind the ball sorted, and he's just getting on the inside shoulder of Tommy Smart there, and it's clever movement. It's a lovely finish.
Did well to time his run to perfection. It was touch and go. The flag stayed down. And he just continues to show why he is such a key piece of this Western attack as he leads all goal scorers in the black and white with 6 for the season. Almost a goal a game. 8th appearance, 6 goals. That's not a bad season. And, some...
And from what I've seen, he's got it in him to, if Western has to score here next, the type of team that he can get 3 or 4 in a game. So Adamstown's got to just consolidate here and stay in the game.
What can they come back with? We know that Western already hold the Anzac Cup, and they've got a hand on it early here at Adamstown Oval in round 9. Of course, you're tuned in Northern New South Wales Football's YouTube channel, live and free every game of men's and women's first and reserve grade NPL as Dino Fajkovic gets to the outside. Hurley slides in and deflects it across the byline with his back.
Yeah, I like the look of Taj Buck. He looks really dangerous, and things seem to happen when he gets the ball. So I'd say it's a simple ploy, but getting more of the ball for Adamstown.
The defence is going to generally have a focus on Fajkovic too, so to have someone else to play foil there can't hurt. As Adamstown hit this one in, short and flat. Easily seen away by Hurley. They would have liked more from that. They recover well enough, but brought to ground in Kuru. Continue to work out Adamstown to see what they can come away with. Bucks a man now. Tries to thread it in, but earns a corner instead.
Yeah, and look, I guess if there's one area that we still question about Weston is the defensive side. You always know they're going to get goals, but they have been known to concede them. So Adamstown love to hit back here and really get into the game and hopefully calm themselves down, the young group.
A little bit too far the other way this time and just pushed downfield looking for Hatfield, but picked off by DeVitis. He threads it in. Burns. Plays it in well to the back post. Can it be controlled? Defended away in the end. A couple of half chances there for Adamstown that's looking more promising.
Yeah, and there's Michael Burns. He's got really good feet for a big guy, and he just showed it there. Lovely delivery, and probably should have been a goal. I think another key was he was in a higher position, so they need to get these situations like this. They need to keep the ball down here, keep pressure. They need to watch behind the ball that Hatfield's been taken care of.
He just drops it to the back post, headed in, looking for Bach. Cleared away in the end by the original goal scorer in Archbold. Sometimes it's sort of a simple process, isn't it? It's the guys who look most dangerous, get them the most ball, and things can happen for you.
Yeah, again, Taj Buck drove down there out wide. He looks a real handful. I think it's those situations where they're just letting Weston out a bit easy. Hatfield was up against two defenders. The first defender has to be more aggressive there and win the ball and keep them in the Western half and keep building pressure. When you let them get out, it just eases the pressure. And you get now, they've stepped right up and they're sort of out, not under the pressure that they could have been.
He's trying to get things composed and settled his George scorer at the back. Smart works is down on the right. Lofts it forward, looking for... To be honest, I'm not sure whether he knew whether he was going for Taj Buck or Dino Fajkovic, or if it was a bit more hit and hope there. Either way, it didn't work out, and George Stevens is out to pick it up.
Yeah, Taj started making the run, and he sort of stopped, and it ended up being a perfect ball. But I think that's a nice matchup, isn't it? Dino comes off the line, and you got the young mobile player in the attacking midfield role, making forward runs like that. It's a nice little combination up there.
Certainly is. It looks promising. It's just about them converting it into something. But for the time being, it's Weston working it out. Hurley. And Farling on his left if he wants him. But again, he likes to go to that long pass. And beats Smart. Hatfield. The bounce of the ball just eluded him a little. And again, though,
that's that run, isn't it? Yeah.
Eluded by Hatfield.
Yep. He just creeps on his inside shoulder, and Hurley's passing range has always been great. So good footballer, and yeah, it's one pass that's sort of pulling apart their whole defence. So there's a couple of things that the centre backs need to be more aware, and maybe we need to get, or not we, Adamstown need to get some pressure on Hurley. He's got a lot of time. He's got a massive passing range, and he's quite creative. He was a midfielder a few years ago, so the more time you give him, he can pick whatever pass he wants.
We've seen that he's got a little on a string, and then when you've got the experience of Hatfield up there, who just timed that run perfectly. He stood there, held his ground, which lured Smart into going, right, I need to stand here and go body to body and leap for the ball. As soon as he saw him step forward to commit to that, snuck in behind and relied on the fact that Hurley was going to have that just a little bit too deep for that contest, and it worked perfectly, barring the second bounce of the ball.
Yeah, I think Adamstown got a touch lucky, to be fair.
Yeah, you feel if that had sat at all for Hatfield, he would have been having another on the score sheet. And as you said, that might have been the trigger for him going on a run and putting on a bit of a show on Anzac Day.
Yep.
But for the time being, the score remains 2-0.
When that ball comes out to Hurley from the left, you notice Hatfield's on Lawther, and Tommy Smart's thinking about covering his right back, and he sort of drifts off the line and then goes forward in between them, and that's where I think Lawther's just got to be aware of that, and Tommy maybe has to stay a bit narrower and let his right back do the job on the left winger.
Farling does well, lays it off here, back, Kamara. A boot in there. Masaki. Dom Archbold. Time on the ball, lays it back to his centre back. Now Farling playing a nice sort of free roaming role. He's popping up in all sorts of spots on the field so far, and he's dangerous wherever he goes. It's keeping Adamstown honest as they're attacking mids and strikers try and push and press on them a little. Over the top again now. Hatfield pops up on the right-hand side. Cuts back in. Slices between a couple. Threads the ball nicely for Archbold. Pushes it across the face. And beautiful finish. Cooper Buswell. That is exactly how you draw that play up, and it was executed perfectly. Adamstown stood watching it, waiting, and Buswell finished it into the top of the net.
Yeah, he's a quality player, Cooper. He's actually hasn't been in the game that much, but that's what he can do. He's quality. Really like these little forward runs that Weston are making. They're coming off the line. They're darting forward. There's players in motion up front. It's very hard to defend, and I think it starts with Farling and Kamara. You know, at the back there, they were just Adamstown were chasing shadows there, weren't they? They were comfortable keeping the ball, and I think Farling looks like a good pickup for Weston, and yeah, they're looking the real deal.
Yeah, the ability of Farling and Kamara, they're just sort of slotting in and out. And sometimes you see teams when they do that and they're not settled and confident enough in themselves where it starts to come awry. But they just look so comfortable. If they do turn the ball over, the players are pushing back into the right spots. And so it gives them that flexibility. And then the right, which seemed to bemuse some of the Adamstown defence, and they were all at 6s and 7s. And it meant that the ball for Blake Archbold was just, he could just thread that across in front of a stranded keeper who you have to feel for.
Yeah. Yeah, he's sort of done nothing wrong, has he? And he's got 3 goals against him. In general, it's you know, Weston's had the ball, which is to be expected, but Adamstown's had their little moments, but this can happen with younger teams. You find yourself down 3-0 off 3, you know, quality goals, and they've just got to stay in the game, and the next goal becomes important. Otherwise, yeah, you fall behind by 4, and it's very hard to pick up from there.
Pushed wide again by Hurley. Got back into the pocket. Archbold coming into the box. Bodies going in left, right and centre, and I'm not sure that Adamstown quite even knew what they were trying to execute there, but they get away with it again, and that's probably to that point that you're talking about, Damien, is Weston have probably had the greater number of opportunities. They've probably had half a dozen down there. Adamstown probably 3 genuine ones at the other end, but they've converted 50% of them, and a couple of the ones that Adamstown have had that they have diffused has probably been more good fortune than good management.
Yeah, no, like I said, Weston looked Adamstown looked very improved on what I sort of saw last year, and they look like they're going to be a dangerous team, but yeah, Weston look really prolific, don't they? They look like they could score 10 today. They're just in that type of mood.
I think the word I'd put to Damien, lethal. When they get down there, they look like they've got a single purpose and a single mind. Whereas Adamstown probably a little bit more not quite sure of what that avenue is. Whereas Weston, when they get down there, they know that they've got multiple people capable of getting there. It's just about getting the ball into the right spot. Yeah,
no, I'd agree. Adamstown sort of hoping something's going to happen, and Weston know they've got guys that are going to make things happen. So
interesting to see whether Adamstown can grab some momentum back. Still some time left in this first half, and it'd be an interesting way to play out. If Adamstown could score next, you feel it could just tighten the reins a little bit, but they just need to start getting that ball forward again and taking their opportunities. In the meantime, George Stevens out wide and to take this and get us back underway. Goes long, that's a fair boot. Yeah, hasn't managed to keep it in the field of play, but that's gone about 70 metres on the fly. He's got a boot on him.
Yeah, we didn't teach him that at the academy, but he hasn't really had a save to make. Adamstown probably didn't hit the target a few times. They had good chances, and look, at the end of the day, goals shape games, and when you don't take chances, you know, I think Adamstown had the first one, Law the hit over from the corner. You know, if they get 1-0 up, it's a different game. And I guess that's why strikers are worth the most money, aren't they? They change games.
They certainly do. Now, again, out wide, that compressed defence of Adamstown is outflanked for the time being. Archbold gets in there, headed backwards, and that's going to slide away for another corner.
It's really obviously Dom Archbold was in at the Jets youth, and he's an attacking right back. I've coached Dylan Burston, who's playing left back. That's a bit unusual, but it looks like the left side, they're sort of creating the width from up high with Niankuru, but the right side is where they're really getting forward. The left back is tracking Blake Archibald inside. It's leaving space outside for Dom Archibald, and it's, yeah, at the moment, that's a big issue for Adamstown.
Farling with the corner, and a third for the Bears. Buswell, the tallest of the targets in the box, and that's where he aims this one, but Adamstown leaving up above the pack. It looks like that was Fajkovic that got it away. Defence not having completely dealt with it though. Farling now again crosses it into the back post. Archibald just to the outside of the left post.
It's a lovely delivery. I was just looking how tall Adamstown are in the centre, and I was sort of thinking, where's this cross going? And it went into a perfect area.
Weston is doing so well at playing to their strengths in the first half here. Northern New South Wales Football, NPL on Northern New South Wales Football's YouTube channel. Of course, as always, all NPL men's and women's first and reserve grade games in the Northern New South Wales competition live and free on the YouTube channel throughout the season. And kicking off the round with this Anzac Cup match, which at the moment the Western Bears have hold of. They lead 3-0. Adamstown far from without chances. If they could just conjure one back before half-time, you feel that it might spark this contest back to life. In the meantime, though, they have to work it out of their defence. Chris McPherson and Damien Zane bringing you all the action. Adamstown with a throw deep in their defensive half. Become very stationary there. Weston look to work it forward. Much bold. Kamara lofts it up, looking for Hatfield. It's just headed away. Lawther will end up seeing it across the sideline. Farling thinks of taking the throw, but happy to hand it off to someone else. Archibald, Farling moving about, trying to create an option. Archibald to Archibald. Now Farling looking busy on the ball.
Lots of players in motion. It's really evident, isn't it? They look very fluent, Weston, and I guess that's what part in Adamstown's not sure where the danger's coming from.
Weston plays it in off the legs of Gizmiro. Does well. They manage to keep it in. They loft it forward, just clearing the ball. Not really with any target in mind. Iwasaki happy to play it back to Stevens, and again it comes all the way back to the man who's conjured a lot of these attacking plays in Hurley. Stevens outside of his box. Fajkovic's eyes light up for a moment before Stevens gets rid of it. Niankuru does well. Hurley probably fortunate to come away with that one. And a throw this time going the way of Weston in the end.
I know they're tired, Adamstown, but when Weston go back, they've got to get that line up and try and force or put some pressure on the Western back line in build-up. And it's very hard when you're chasing the ball a lot. When you get it, you're fatigued. You need to make good decisions. And, yeah, Western's just totally in control at the moment.
See how easily they then exited out of all the traffic. Just composed and not rushing things. Western, it's easy to do when you're up 3-0, I suppose.
Yeah, that was a bit better, but Adamstown started stepping up on a negative pass, and they don't want to get in the habit of sitting in, or Western will just control the game. And as I said, pressure leads to goals.
Led to a turnover here. They'll get the throw in. Burns will take the throw. Looking for Bach. Can't get up to it. Farling retreats and takes it away. Hurley again with all the time and space he'd like. As you say, they are pushing up a little bit better and just stepping towards it, but leaving Chris Hurley with so much time and space, I know he's heading in the wrong direction, but we've seen what he can do, quickly turn and deliver in a flash.
Just
running instructions.
Yeah, sorry, Dom Archibald's already drifting high, so by having that time on the ball, it allows Dom to get higher, and it's probably too easy. They probably need to get some pressure on so that Dom gets caught between, do I go forward or do I stay? But while that build-up is so comfortable, he can go from right back to right wing in a jog. And once they've got that structure set in with their passing range, it's Yeah, going to spell disaster for Adamstown. I think they need to get some more pressure on Hurley especially.
Smart does well there. Davidis back. Richardson under pressure from Neon Kuru.
Davidis has worked really hard. I can see he's been a really good pickup. I'm not sure where he's come from, but yeah, he looks like a good pickup. Charlie Naylor's a really hard worker in midfield also, so it's quite a young but good midfield. I like Taj Buck. So there's some exciting times ahead for Adamstown if they can hold these boys, which is always the, I guess, issue that they have is keeping hold of these players.
It certainly is. Davidis, I think, was returned back to Australia after a stint in college football. There's all of a sudden a chance again. They get away with it. The bounce eludes Hatfield. If you had some friendly bounces today, you could have 4.
Again, he's off the shoulder, and it's easy to say to the centre-backs, where is he? But he just does it so well.
I think we talked about it before when he got that third goal, Buswell, and the fact that he hadn't been a lot involved. And to be fair, Davidis has been a big part of that. He's pulled a few balls away that were intended for him, and you'll see him pressing up on him a couple of times as well. So as much as his team might be down 3-0, I think what he's shown us has been really promising in his first half.
Those little moments just then, I felt Adamstown had, some numbers around the ball to put a bit of pressure on.
Trouble here. Keeper out. We'll have to use his head. Thought he was going to reach for that ball there. Goalkeeper instincts for a moment, then he thought better of it. That would have been the absolute salt in the wound that Adamstown didn't need. Buswell now. Davidis wearing him a little too tightly that time. Fatigue and frustration maybe getting the better of Adamstown's midfielder.
Yeah, it's quite warm out there. I think probably temperature-wise it doesn't look like, but I know we trained this morning and it was really warm out on the synthetic. And
there's little patches of rain we've had over the last week too probably don't help, so it's a little softer underfoot, which means heavier legs and also a bit of moisture coming back up.
Yep.
As you see, the fourth official readying to let us know how much added time we're going to have here.
And there's Archibald again. He's in a high position. It's just too easy. You've got to try and pressure them and win the ball and get him out of position. And they might get some transition moments into the space he's left. But at the moment, they're just sort of sitting off, and Hurley's running the show, to be honest. And that ball for him is, he's doing that 9 out of 10 times he's hitting that ball, and it's with no pressure, it's just too easy.
I laid that out for Archibald, then found Hatfield, and Hatfield has the fourth official signal for 2 minutes of added time. Then managed to turn back. Smart again lost his feet, which meant that Buck had to race back at 100 miles an hour to close it down, which has led to a dangerous free kick here. Hatfield takes it from range. A couple of bounces, sits up kindly for scorer, though, as we head into stoppage time.
Yeah, when I look down at the bench, I see Nathan Morris and old scars open up. When a free kick we used to give a free kick away and saw him coming up, we knew what was happening. He was a fantastic free kick taker, and I don't know how many times playing against him that he hurt the team I played in with a set piece, especially at Edgeworth. That was probably when Weston and Edgeworth were going for premierships and playing in grand finals, and it's good to see them back.
Certainly is good to see them back. As I said before, it's a good, healthy sign for the NPL and some of these clubs return to their glories and mix it up. You like to see a bit of variety in it, but Adamstown might have a last little say in this here, and it'll be that man that we've talked a bit about today, Taj Buck, that will be over the dead ball. It's an awkward position, probably about 5 or 6 metres in from the corner flag, a metre from the byline. So that midpoint in between the 18-yard box and the sideline.
And this would be massive, wouldn't it? Like, to go in 3-1 would be a big pickup. I'm sure the coaches are going to come up with a different plan for the second half. They'd love to go in 3-1.
Burns and Naylor at the back post. They come in flat, and it's just clattered into the side netting. A couple of opportunities they've had with corners, and now with that set piece, just haven't really delivered the threat they should have, and at half-time, despite the fact there's been opportunities for both sides, it is Weston that are on top in this one. It's been a dominant display. They've controlled the tempo and the possession, and they lead 3-0. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with you in about 10 minutes, myself and Damien Zane, to bring you what promises to be a cracking second half. Can the Rosebuds bring it back and claw back this deficit, or will Weston go on with the onslaught for the Anzac Cup?
That's the feeling. Progress. Momentum. Getting somewhere. That's what it feels like when you bank with Newcastle Permanent. With local experts and award-winning customer service. We're here for you, and we're here for good. That's the feeling. Progress. Momentum. Getting somewhere. That's what it feels like when you bank with Newcastle Permanent. With local experts and award-winning customer service. We're here for you, and we're here for good.
Welcome back to the second half of the NZ Cup between the Western Bears and the home side, the Adamstown Rosebuds, round 9, Northern New South Wales NPL men's first grade action. Chris McPherson and Damien Zane bringing you all the action here from Adamstown as the NZ Cup is on the line, and at half-time it is the visitors leading 3-0. And Damien, we talked about it during that first half. If you hadn't seen the goals go in, you wouldn't think this was a 3-0 game. It might be more of a 2-1. Weston definitely deserving to lead, but Adamstown probably feeling like they're ruining some missed opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. It's harsh, 3-0. They've had a lot of ball, but again, that doesn't always mean everything in football, but they'll probably be a little disappointed. I think the first goal was just a bit too easy, and they'll probably be a bit disappointed they didn't score a goal themselves. They had a couple of decent chances that... they probably need to take, but I'd like to see them be more aggressive, and essentially they've got nothing to lose. So hopefully the second half, I'd like to see their fullbacks get higher and in more attacking situations. I'd like a bit more support around Dino. I'd like to see the wingers a bit narrower at times, and I feel they're wide and blocking fullbacks going forward. So we'll see what they've come up with.
See what the half-time chat from Chris Moylan can deliver. Can they get the first one back and turn this into a contest, or will it be Weston continuing to turn the screws and continue their march towards what looks like on their current form line a finals berth and a return to the playoffs in 2025? A bit of confusion here, but it will be a throw-in away of Adamstown. Adamstown now in the traditional green kit, heading from right to left of your screen. The orchestrator of it all, Chris Hurley, gets on the ball. He's been a key piece for Weston in this first half. Threaded forward for Hatfield again. He's got space. Smart just tries to throw his body into him. I'm not sure what that challenge is about, but Hatfield just toying with the defence at the moment.
Yeah, he probably should have played it at the end, but he definitely was toying with him. That ball, from the throw-in earlier, Dino wins a flick on, and I'd like to see Riley Orm getting closer and just narrow up Weston a bit and allow some space for Burns to get forward, and they just seem a bit disconnected up front, and Weston are just gobbling up the ball and sending it back.
Smart manages to take this one away, but it's deflected and goes off Gizmiro for a throw. Weston with a throw in the attacking half. 3 goals in the first half. Archbold got the first after nearly scoring with what would have easily been a contender for goal of the year, a stunning bicycle, but then he just nailed one from outside the box. And then Hatfield and Buswell doing the job from inside the box each respectively to get that lead to 3-0. For a moment there, it looked like Archbold wasn't going to get back up. He'd thrown himself. As we said, the landing wasn't that great. The strike was good from that acrobatic effort.
Yeah, it was an amazing effort. I like this. This is good. A bit more pressure. I felt Weston were under no pressure at all at the back in the first half.
Throw from Burns. They're looking to pick up the tempo here, it looks, Adamstown. The nice aggressive start. Vajkovic tries to thread it through. Archbold picks it off. Threads it now. Buswell gets the turn. Nyankuru. Oh, if that ball snuck through, Hatfield was free and clear, but it was intercepted well by Smart. Burns dropping it back now.
That was a bit too easy. Aaron turned. When they lost the ball here, Adamstown, they were all pressing in, but it wasn't as a total unit. The right back just left Aaron free, and Weston's good enough to find those players in transition. So when Adamstown lose it up in the attacking half, they really need to get pressure on and sustain pressure down this end.
This looks a little better, though. They're closing the space as Weston try and transition it out of defence. Iwasaki acrobatically throws himself over Vajkovic, who just watches him tumble to ground. Stevens now with time, sends it wide.
This is much better. Yeah.
Richardson high, it's exactly what we asked for.
And they're being aggressive. We sort of had a chat at half-time, and it's easy to say when you're watching, but you really have to be brave and aggressive. And even if you're the underdog, if you're not those things, then generally you're not going to win football games.
It's interesting looking at how they've even set up defensively, and it looked, when they were structured and Hatfield was sitting up front. The Lawther might have taken to a little bit closing that space. Probably a bit better physical match for him. I mean, his pace off the mark's going to be hard for anyone to match. We know that. But just getting that physicality and getting a body against him. Although now Smart's gone back to him as soon as I've said that. Now here's Onga with a bit of space. Lofts it forward, a little offline for Fajkovic. Buck gets forward against Kamara. Farling drops it down. Davidas ranging ball for Dino Fajkovic on the strike of the volley.
Yeah, turning back the clock.
Old Dog Silva has tricks up his sleeve. He wasn't far away there.
Nah, that was an unbelievable hit. Again, good pressure by Adamstown, and they played forward in transition. And the second half, it's been a good start for them.
Much more promising, and you asked for a little bit of intent and aggression. It's exactly what they've started to deliver. They've tightened up that midfield and brought it in a bit. Onga's got a few touches early, which is good, and it's freed up a bit of space. And hopefully, we might see. We touched on, we were talking about it at half time during the break about Michael Burns and his athleticism. How do they best utilise that? As speak of the man, and he steps up with a nice clearing header.
Yeah, that was better defending. He was getting a bit narrow because Archibald would drift in, and he's getting a bit narrow in the first half, and that was better defending. Beautifully
threaded now, Niankuru. Can he get the touch? Naveen Richardson covers well and pushes it across, and does well too. It goes across the sideline just short of the corner flag, so it'll be a throw-in rather than a corner. Just a little bit more intent and spark in everything they're doing. Dom Archibald with the throw. Finds his brother. Again, Burns steps up and clears it long. Trying to take out the photographer that's everywhere in Newcastle Sport and Grant Sproul. Archibald. Again, nice little throw for his brother. Buswell does well to keep it in. Back almost falls for Hatfield. I don't think he realised Niankuru was creeping behind him there and lurking for it, but
there's that movement too, Weston. Like, it's just little rotations and combinations. It's a pleasure to watch when they get it into those front players.
It's a nice ball from Buswell. Farling running the overlap and just pushed across the sideline and dealt with Lawther holding his lower back there. Keep an eye on that. It's not a good sign for Rosebuds fans. Very tight all of a sudden.
That's how my back feels, to be fair. Exactly how he's grimacing now. I feel his pain.
I was going to say, I think you've got a couple of years, Damien, on young Lawther.
Yeah.
What's he, all of 23?
Yeah, he looks like he's in a bit of trouble there.
Interesting to see what they've got available on the bench should he need to be changed. Well, one thing that you can't have him at 70 or 80% trying to mark Chris Hatfield. At 100%, it's a big job for anyone.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's as the season's long. Injuries come in, suspensions, and it's important. I guess that's what separates the top teams is the depth. So I'm not sure what they've got in behind. I know Michael Burns could go into centre-back. I'm not quite sure how they're
Farley punched away for the time being. Volleyed attempt. Archibald, as soon as he hit it, wanted it again. He knew he didn't get a hold of it, got underneath it, sliced it up and over the crossbar.
Probably had to leave the ground again to keep that one down, but
maybe he should have taken some pointers from the elder statesman on the other side in Dino, the way he sort of got horizontal almost to strike it. Just showing that age is no barrier to athletic prowess. We've certainly seen some feats already today, haven't we? Seen some stunning leaps for strikes. Unfortunately, neither of them, the most notable ones, have managed to register it on the score sheet. As I said, had either of those gone in, I think you could have almost closed the race for goal of the year. Both of them were phenomenal strikes.
Yep.
Well, the Onga can't control that one. It'll be a throw in favour of Weston on halfway.
It's not always pretty, but I just feel Adamstown's getting into this arm wrestle a bit, and if they can start winning contests and get themselves going forward, and they're going to get themselves hopefully into a chance where they can get themselves back into the game.
Farling does well, lays it off Archibald. Planted by Davidas. Not sure what Dane Lawther thinks he's doing wandering in there. Oh, yeah, Archibald not going to... Sorry, Blake Archibald not going to take a backward step there despite giving away plenty of size. Temper's just starting to rise up a little bit, isn't it? It was an unnecessary challenge by Davidis, but I think even Archibald was okay getting back up and realising the referee had it in hand before Lawther came running in.
Yeah, I think he kicked the ball. Not sure he was aiming at Archibald, but whizzed past his head there, and I think Farling wasn't happy about it. Not sure whether there is intent there, but...
This is the joys of football, though. We quickly move on and get back to the action that we're here for. Good news is it looks like, based on the fact that he could close the distance to get into that melee a little fairly quickly, Dane Lawther's back might be feeling a bit better. As all of a sudden now Dom Archibald finds him way ranging down, plays it into the arm of Lawther, and it'll trickle away for a throw in. Just looking through the squad list for Adamstown, if Lawther does succumb to that. They do have Joel Hogan, who was one of the centre-backs for the majority of the reserve grade game, and you'd expect might be an option there. As you said, Burns as well, who can clearly slot in. We've got some options, which is good for Adamstown. Look at this working close quarters. Buswell doing well. Doesn't quite hang on to it in the end, and Iosaki lays it back for Kamara. Buck and Fajkovic pressing.
This is where they've got to step up and be aggressive, and they've got them going backwards, get their defensive line up like they have, and they've got to, well, they should keep possession there. If he gets a call, he can hold it, but that was better defending.
Longer tracking back Burns, a little misstep. Plays it back to his keeper. Scorer. Out wide now.
That's
Smart.
better.
Richardson free with space. This is what we wanted to see, but just couldn't quite control it. It beats him over the sideline. It looks a lot more promising for the Rosebuds.
Yeah, they look a lot more positive and more aggressive. Still felt that last opportunity where Weston broke away, Burns was deep and his player was back, and I think if he's in a more aggressive position, even when they lose the ball, he's closer to put pressure. He got caught sort of deep, but they had 3-on-1, so I'd still like to see him a bit more aggressive with his positioning.
Taj Buck coming racing forward, but Stevens read it perfectly and timed his advance immaculately as he raced out and dived on that snatch it from the imminent presence of Buck. But again, lots more promising signs for Adamstown. And I'm guessing if you're Chris Moylan, that's kind of the conversations that you're having is, even though you're down 3-0, one, there's positivity to build towards whatever happens here for the remaining 40-odd minutes, but there's also a whole lot of season to go towards where you need to take some key learnings with this young side and start having a look at those different plans of execution that are working for your squad.
Yeah, definitely. If they get themselves a goal, just test Weston a bit and see. But it's, like you said, it's important as a young group that they keep performing. A good half might not get them any points today, but it may lead to points later in the season.
All building blocks, and of course, speaking of halves and games of football, it'll be worth watching. Hang around for the remainder of this one, but at 5 o'clock, live and free on Northern New South Wales Football's YouTube. You can switch across to New Lambton and Bell Swans, two of the teams down in the lower rungs at the ladder at the moment. New Lambton still chasing their first win. They came oh so close last week in the match of the round against Valentine. And they'll be hunting that. They want to try and close that gap on the teams above them to liven up that relegation race.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a look at a couple of games, and they look like they've been playing some decent football. Again, a young group, and coaching the youth team, they're all young, and you just expect mistakes, and it can be frustrating, but it's part of having a young team, and a lot of the
beautiful run here, Richardson. No, dealt with well by Hurley.
And we didn't see that in the first half enough. Richardson is quick, he's good going forward. So that's a positive sign. But yeah, back to the young groups. When you've got a young group, you know there's going to be errors and that. But there's also that youthful exuberance, and they can win you games. Haven't been at Adamstown. I was here in the last time they were in a grand final in '98. I think in 97 we had maybe 2 experienced players, but we added 2 the next year, and we went from second last to the grand final. So if they can keep these young ones on board, you know, possibly add an experienced player or 2, they might be on a path to somewhere. The hard thing is keeping hold of your talented players. So
I was going to say, keeping hold of your talented players, and if you're in the situation Newlanton, who we were just talking about, it's keeping in the NPL as well, which is, I mean, they've got all these young players. We were talking about last week, now without their most experienced player, but they've got all these young players. I think Kent Harrison's their second oldest player in their squad at the moment at 25.
Yep.
And then you've got Josh Pittington at the other end of the spectrum, who, if he can get himself back fit, could potentially bring up his 450th NPL game this season, which we're talking about that with Matty Butner last week, who obviously is suffering from his knee injury at the moment. To think about the maths on that, and Josh is 38, I think, but that's still 20-plus years of not missing many, if any, games consistently at that top level, which is a phenomenal career. 450 games, I just can't even comprehend that.
No, it's a hell of a lot, but he's a winner, you know, and yes, still looks amazing. So he probably got some more left in him.
Maybe 500.
Who knows?
Well, he missed last week. Hopefully he's back on deck for them later this afternoon, because he's a key piece to that side as the time. Farling has got this corner. He's almost got on a string. Well, passed away for the moment by Scorer, but not completely dealt with. He's going to fall back for Archbold. He lays it off Kamara. Straight away, spots Farling with time and space out wide on the left and lays it for him. He cuts into the top of the 18-yard box. What a shot. Beautiful save. George Scorer gets up and parries that away. And that was a wonderful strike from the top corner of the box, and an even better save from Scorer.
Yeah, good understanding too. Just taking the set piece. Kamara was on the same wavelength. That's probably the key today. You look at Weston, they look like they know what each other are doing. And that's a key to being fluent as a football team. And yeah, they definitely
early into the front post, sent it away. Farling was thinking about winding up for it, but Buck was there and read it well. Kamara again.
We talked at half-time about Adamstown probably let themselves down a bit with delivery, and Weston's just delivered 2 amazing set pieces, and it's another key phase of the game that it's important, set pieces, and you know, there's Hurley again with his passing range.
Again, Weston easily find their way down. Missed clearance there. You can see Chris Hatfield as that one skewed away from him. Rude that. The look on his face, even from our distance, you could see he was filthy on himself. He didn't get a better first touch.
Yeah, you feel Weston haven't taken their foot off, but you feel there's a bit of a lull that if Adamstown were to get something, it's going to do 2 things. It'll either spark Weston into Adam, might just put him under a bit of pressure, which would be interesting to see.
Well, I spent a large part of the early portion of the season calling these games with Ben Kanarowski, and if I had $1 for every time Ben Kanarowski told me how dangerous a 2-goal lead is, I probably wouldn't be doing commentary for a weekend gig, that's for sure.
Everyone says that, but as a coach, I'm taking the 2-0 lead every day of the week.
Yeah, well, that's what I tried. I did try and have that conversation with Kanner and say that 2-0 is surely better than no lead or 1-0.
Yeah.
I'll take dangerous any day of the week. Well, lucky to have Kanner. He's now off taking a bit of a spell. His wife due any day, as I understand it. She was getting very close a couple of weeks ago, so it may even be here by now, but exciting time and a very busy time undoubtedly for him. As the Kanarowski clan expands, it's already a big family.
Yeah, he's been doing the Jets pre-academy, the 9s to 12s, and great to see him back involved and passing on his experiences. Joe Boylehouse is running that, so it's good to see those ex-players from Newcastle that have gone on to have careers, and a lot of young players don't realise how rich our history is, and often ex-players are forgotten about. We don't do that well, I watch the AFL and they do it phenomenally, but we've got a proud history that a lot of the time our kids don't know.
Yep.
And I think it's important especially at the Jets, that these ex-players, you know, our young boys are exposed and told about how good of footballers they were, etc.
I think it's underestimated sometimes too. Some of these players that might not have been a Jason Hoffman who played 300 games or a Nicola Topol-Stanley, but played it a number of seasons at that level. What you need to be at that level, and as you say, to honour that and recognise that the history and heritage that, well, not just the Jets, but you go back to the Breakers, KB United, and even the fact that the roots of football in Australia lie in our region as well. You know, they're things that we need to acknowledge more often.
Yeah, definitely. And with young kids being on social media and all this stuff, all the access they have on the internet, a lot of our generation, I guess, and the older generation didn't quite make that. So they don't really know about it. So I think it's important for our kids to see that, you know, you can be a good footballer from Newcastle, and there's been plenty before. And I know at the moment we're working hard. We want to get some young Australian representatives.
Ball going forward here for Fajkovic.
That was a nice little idea by Onga, and that's a position you want to see him in more.
This is putting there. Foot race now. Richardson, Neonkuru, a little bit of confusion. Scorer's out, but Lawther gets it away. Burns a heavy touch. Gets it back inside. Can't control it though.
Just feel a bit of momentum here, and it doesn't look like it's going to open up, but that can be football sometimes. Like I said earlier, goals change games, and you just feel if Adamstown can get one here, it may give them a bit of momentum.
Smart coming flying like you talked about AFL before. He looked like he was trying to take a pack mark. Got his head to it, but not after a shoulder ride. And the referee wasn't happy with that, so we'll come back and it'll be a free kick away of Weston. And to your point, it really looks like, and I was about to say, it looks like maybe Adamstown just needs something else to spark this. It looks like they've got some momentum, and sure enough, it looks like they're going to go to the bench. Some last instructions getting given to their substitute. We'll identify who that is and who's coming for you in a minute. And in the meantime, Weston they're looking a little less certain of themselves would probably be the best way, I think, of summing it up.
They're just doing enough, aren't they? But you know they can explode at any moment. And here they go.
Hatfield gets smart, skips to the deep side, drops it back. Neonkuru on a blind turn and deflected and across the bar.
Great block there by Lawther, but fantastic play. We were just saying, there it is. They just spark into action. They've got attacking weapons.
Well, that's not the first time we've seen Neonkuru with way too much time in the box. Each time he's probably presented with his back to goal, but he's so good in those tight quarters that you just can't let him turn even unsighted as he showed there. It was only that deflection that Lawther closed off at the last moment that got them away with it as Farling takes his corner. Buswell the front target. Weston at the back. Finds the middle, and Iwasaki sends it over the bar.
Again, the quality of delivery, yeah, top notch. Probably disappointed he didn't keep his header down there.
Work out who's coming from the field. The challenge we have is that Adamstown have lots of numbers on their bench, and Taj Buck the play coming, but the number that is there is not. We've used a few different players in the 12 jersey this year as well, which doesn't help. See if we can get an update on that. I can tell you Taj Buck, the man who's been taken off, and game continues on. Orga working in tight proximity with Western defenders. Treads it through, gets a little nudge afterwards from his opposite number in Archibald. And Orlando DeVries sounds like the 12 will be.
Yeah, his brother Darcy is in our under-18s. We picked him up from Adamstown, and he's doing quite well.
Dangerously put in from Lawther. Burns. The flag goes up, though.
Oh.
I'm not sure what's going on here. Dane Lawther gave away the foul and then decided to turn and give him some more. He has to be very careful because the referee's already got the yellow card out of the pocket. I think that's all it'll be, but Dane Lawther seems to be on a bit of a mission at the moment. He'll rack up his second yellow card of the season. He was amongst the season leaders last year, Damien. He had 8 on the season, which is probably not a stat you want to be leading, I wouldn't have thought, even as a centre-back. I know they like to be enforcers.
Yeah, he didn't leave anything out of that challenge. Well, it didn't look like he was running away from the pack either, did he? I guess when you're a big centre-back, you can just hold your ground in those situations.
I love watching the aftermath here where he's trying to negotiate and explain to Blake Archibald that, no, I thought I was getting the ball.
Yeah.
Blake Archibald having a bit of a laugh and no hard feelings by the look of it between the two, which is nice to see, and we all move on. But Lawther will have his name the first in the book today. The ball going long and wide. Looking for Dom Archibald.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. They've switched Dom to the other side and Dylan Burston's come out this side.
Gizmiro looking to cross it into the box. Well defended though.
And this is where I'm sort of seeing Michael Burns is back here, but there's nothing for him here. You know, he could have stepped in there and possibly won that ball. Sort of caught in no man's land where he's not marking anyone, but he's...
Once that ball beat Fajkovic, it wasn't really setting up for anyone else. It was just time and space for Weston, as you say. And
well, what they've done is they've flipped it, so they're getting higher on the left now. So Burns was marking Archibald inside, but now Archibald's outside and his brother's on the other side creating the width. So they've actually just changed what they're doing. They haven't changed what they're doing, they've just changed the side they're doing it, and I don't think Adamstown have quite picked up on it yet, and that's why I think Burns is getting caught deep and there's no one there.
Ball played back now. Interesting to see whether Adamstown can defuse it. Hurley runs out of space. There's that press that we've talked about, and DeVries, the fresh legs, enacting that. Lawther just pulling up and waiting for the flag, and Nian Kuru happy to go on, but Lawther does well to get a boot in there. The longer range of those legs comes away with it. Lawther maybe added a little bit of sauce to that, but we will come back for the shove.
It was a great tackle, but a little pass. Hatfield was free inside, a little inside pass there, and he was in on goal. Great challenge by Lawther in the end.
Did well. He's working overtime up there. Let's get rid of a second ball here, Tom Smart. There's 2 on the pitch. Need to find something soon, Rosebuds. They've had to breathe some life into this contest. Otherwise, it'll be Weston marching towards a 5th win in 6 games. A little moment of hesitation, mix-up. But the referee's going to say that Nico Gizmiro just a little bit of contact on George Stevens. Again, though, the interesting thing there, and admittedly we'll go back for the foul, but they're 15, 20 metres away. There's no one else pushing up. Fajkovic, Onga just sitting and watching.
Yep.
They're kind of those little second efforts and the little support runs that you just want to see where sometimes something like that spills out and it's the Johnny on the spot who gets the goal.
Yeah, well, anticipation, you know. They need something, and one of these attackers needs to anticipate whether it's a loose ball or it's a forward run. Just feel at the moment they're just going through the motions and going towards a 3-0 loss. They're in the contest. They just need something to happen, and I'm sure the back 6 are looking to that front 4 for that spark. So
it's a bit of a head clash here between Iwasaki and Fajkovic. Fajkovic got a bit of claret coming out of him. You can see straight away DeVries was calling for it. He would have been able to see it on the far side, and the physios and trainers and everyone just said, no, just wait for the referee. There's a fair flow of blood coming out of the head of Dino Fajkovic. He looks almost like he's just being inconvenienced by it, Dino. Take more than that to slow him down, I think. He'll have to go and get patched up, and he'll probably come out looking like something out of the Mummy Returns, potentially with a bit of tape work. He's having a bit of a laugh now. He's all good, which is great to see. The referee will just have a check and make sure that Iwasaki's come out okay as well. And probably the best outcome you could hope for out of a nasty head clash is that a little bit of a cut and two players that are both well within their faculties.
Yeah, again, a lot in the game's changed, hasn't it? You just strap it up and go back on the field back in the days, but a bit more awareness about head knocks.
So if you go further back, they might not even worry about strapping it up unless it was really pouring out. They just tend to get on with it and wait for the next stoppage.
Correct.
But yeah, as you say, CT and all the things that come with it, player safety's at the paramount. And all of a sudden, Hatfield free on the edge of the 18-yard box. Smart racing back, overshoots it a touch, but does well in the end to recover. Somehow, despite having one knee on the ground, he did well and pushed it across the byline. And so we'll have another corner the way of Weston as they look to try and add to this 3-0 lead. The second half of the Anzac Cup, live and free on Northern New South Wales Football's YouTube channel. As we touched on earlier, you've got all of the men's first and reserve grade and the women's first and reserve grade NPL games across the weekend and the season coming to you live and free at your convenience. Wherever you are on the go at home, you can watch it. Barling, there we go, Fajkovic's all taped up and the fourth official's given him the all clear. Barling puts it into the near post. And it's the referee's going to say it's last come off. I think it might have been Lawther with the last contact there. We'll have another corner. Take it all again. Cooper Buswell holding his head. I'm not quite sure what happened there in the end. He might have had a little bump with someone else.
Yeah, I thought Lawther headed the ball onto him, to be honest, and maybe he just headed him.
Rolling with plenty of slice on the ball. It sits up dangerously. Niankuru thinks about trying to get aerial, but he was locked in with Naveen Richardson. Now Kamara. Back for Archbold, crosses it in, no look, pushed over the bar. It was almost provided turn scorer. Chris Hurley was the man in the end, but just couldn't keep it down. And now we're going to have a couple of changes coming for Weston. It's going to be Brock Beveridge and Dogan Gyoja coming on, and there'll be Buswell and Archbold coming off. Gyoja will replace Buswell. So two of the goal scorers getting a well-earned spell.
Yeah, I love watching Cooper play now that I don't coach against him. But he was such a good young player when he came up to Weston. He's been really, really good for him. Handy, can play as a midfielder, 9, can play deeper in midfield. And I thought he was really quiet today, actually. But at the end of the day, he's got himself that third goal, which probably wrapped the game up.
Nice work here from Burns. He's beaten 2, one of them twice, but eventually dispossessed, tried to chance his hand one too many times. Gets in now.
Thought he was unlucky there. I actually thought he won the ball.
So did I. The referee right on the spot. No, it's just whether, I think it might have been the sequence of events. The referee saying he clipped him first, I'm guessing. He thought he was hard done by 2, so you've got our sympathies at least, Michael Burns, for the time being.
I think it just looked physically impossible that he could be where he is and reach out, but his legs are that long.
I was going to say, his legs are current to yours and my shoulders, so.
But that was more positive. That's what, for me, he can add. It was nice feet there, but we just haven't seen him. I think once in the first half he was in an attacking position. He had lovely feet, delivered a nice cross, and we haven't seen enough. I think he's been deployed too deep, and yeah, would have liked to see him get forward more often.
Smart does well to win out there. Chips it forward, hoping for Fajkovic. Doesn't quite get it on target, and that's probably the first time today we've seen Chris Hurley absolutely overcook one of those passes. He just drove it back down the other end. And suggests they know very well that this game is well in their control, Weston, and Whilst I'm sure they'd love another goal to secure it, they know that if they can maintain this 3-goal margin for a little longer, it's going to get beyond the point of return for Adamstown as Smart comes clattering in on Farling and gives away another foul. It'll be Hurley to take the dead ball opportunity. Players moving about up front. Just happy to lay it off Farling. Out wide now. Back to Hurley. Again, Farling making a little run. Yoja almost did. Takes off, trying to pin Richardson down there. Richardson happy to see it across the sideline. Archibald with the throw now. Weston in attacking territory. Goes long into the box. Beveridge chipping it over. Falls dangerously. Burns gets one boot to it. Not cleared yet. Hatfield over the ball. Tries to work in close traffic but can't quite control it and it'll trickle away. Again, danger signs. Weston continue to try and push their advantage.
Yeah, nice movement there by Beveridge. So I think he was at Lambton back in the day when he was younger and via Cooks Hill.
Yeah, I think he's been at Cooks Hill the last few years.
Yep.
I think originally, if research tells me, Weston Jr. who's done the round. So
yeah, right.
It's nice when those stories come home, isn't it?
And look, that sort of tells the story too. Adamstown would love to bring on and probably need those kind of subs, right? And that's sort of the difference between, top of the table and mid-table. As I said earlier, as the season draws on, you need that depth. You're going to get injuries, suspensions.
Gioja making a run here. Smart, just with a little nudge. He's going to need to be careful. He's already been in the referee's bad books today with conversations, but Gioja plays that smartly. Gioja, import coming across from Japan. We've seen an influx of them this season. Played underage national side for Japan, I believe, a number of years ago. Yes. That looked a little more dramatic than the contact might have suggested, but the yellow cards come out very quickly for Burke Farling, who just continued wandering on his way like the referee hadn't even said anything to him. Lawther, I think, maybe looking for a sub, and he's going to be given that by the look of it.
Typical centre back, yeah. Put his body through someone before and then it gets a little nick and he's down.
Looks like he's been sniped from the top of the scoreboard. And I think it'll be Owen Carney coming on in the 14. Again, if our team sheets are on the money, which they usually are. All forward, Fadge giving a little tap from the back of the head. Cleared away. Substitution just confirmed.
Substitution for both number 4, Dane Wilson, has been replaced by number 14, Owen Carney.
Headed wide, Burns advancing. Niankuru slips in and takes it away. Burns continues to press on him. Does well, spills out now. Stevens caught out of his goals for a moment there. Gismiro couldn't get a shot away. De Vries needs to conjure something. He gets the outside of Archibald. Archibald will just poke it across. And we'll have a corner. Looking a little more promising, a little more dangerous from the Rosebuds, but have they left it to too little too late?
Well, been as a neutral crying out for a goal in this second half for Adamstown to try and possibly spark a contest. Still, I'd imagine about 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think we've got about just under 7 of regulation time. As Burns gets a header to it. But a diving effort. Stevens read that well. Burns didn't quite get as much power in as he might have liked, but it was well directed. And Stevens dived to the bottom left corner and took it away.
And I go back to the first half where they had some poor delivery, and you sort of look at them, they're quite a big team, Adamstown. It's probably something going forward, especially being in that mid-table, and it's so tight, isn't it, from sort of the playoff spot, the relegation playoff spot to, you know, 5th and 6th. There's not much difference. So set pieces can be important as the year goes on. Fields deteriorate, and I think that's something, an area I think they should look at really working on, which they may do already, but
some frustration from the Weston fans, and you touch on that point. Looking at the ladder at the moment, the two teams that sit there fighting for that playoff spot, Lambton and Bell Swans, only 2 points behind Adamstown. There's a cluster of 6 teams there, 2 points difference. But the interesting thing, Bell Swans and Lambton have a much better goal difference than all the teams above them too, so that makes it even closer realistically than the points suggest. So
yeah.
It is neck and neck, and we're just past a third of the season. We're going to have a 22-round season, and, you know, in a matter of a fortnight, we'll be at the midpoint as Niankuru gets a fortunate deflection and falls from him. He's got Hatfield with him. Hatfield pulls back, spins through, somehow gets a fortunate bounce, lays it off. Beveridge pushes it wide to the left off target.
Yeah, I thought Niankuru took the wrong option. I thought the little reverse to Beveridge was the pass, but Hatfield still nearly made a chance out of nothing.
It can be an interesting piece when you've got someone that's in the form that Hatfield is, that you kind of look for reasons to pass in the ball as opposed to just looking for what presents as the most logical option.
Yeah, that's true, and that presence is important, isn't it? Like when you've got a guy, you try to get him the ball as often as you can, because you know he can make things happen.
He certainly did that earlier today, and he's come close a couple of other times, and now all of a sudden Farling threads it out in front. Beveridge will have another chance, brings it to ground, gets the finish, does he? No. Deflected, and a penalty. I was going to say Smart hasn't had the best day at the office, and that one, it just came at him and he used the hand to bring it down. And we'll have, unsurprisingly, that man we just talked about, Chris Hatfield, will step up to the spot to what you feel Damien Zane would be to ice this game.
Yeah, definitely. Farling looks like he wants a piece of it.
Tell you what, he's been everywhere else so far today. He's been in everything, keeping busy.
Big thank you to Chris Dale there, delivering me a Buds burger. He's been doing that for about 10 years. Let me tell you, they're pretty good.
They are. I had one a little bit earlier on, so Hatfield steps up, drives it high and right. Pass scorer gets his second of the game, his 7th of the season. And Weston, you feel have iced it now. They lead 4-0 deep in regulation time here at Adamstown Oval. And Damien Zane, I think the Anzac Cup will stay at Weston for another year.
Yeah, definitely. They're looking deflated now, Adamstown. Second half, they've had a crack. They've sort of huffed and puffed, but the class of Weston's prevailed. There's a lovely ball there by Farling. He looks like a really good pickup also. Sort of looks like an old school Western midfielder. They're a bit more polished these days up at Western, but they used to be very aggressive. And yeah, he looks like a really good pickup for them. And you sort of look, I mentioned Cooper Buswell had a quieter game than normal. I'd probably say Aaron Niankuru's had a quieter game than normal. So you start to see that, there's a lot to this attack. If they're all firing at the same time, they're going to be a real handful.
They certainly will. As we see the 4th official just starting to go through prepping to work out how many minutes of additional time. We've had a couple of stoppages with the injury for the now mummified Dino Fajkovic. As the ball goes across the sideline, beating everyone in the end, and Burns can take the throw into the almost final 2 minutes of regulation time here. It's a procession from here for Weston as they secure these 3 points. Will temporarily lift them up to 3rd on the ladder, depending on other results this round. Missouri away to Cooks Hill Olympic, who sat in front of them heading into this round, play a top 4 clash with Edgeworth, which will be interesting. And again, you'll be able to see that tomorrow from 2 p.m, live and free on Northern New South Wales YouTube channel. Coming to you from Jack McLaughlin Oval. Ground you know very well, Damien.
Yep.
That'll be an interesting one. Olympic have been an improved side again this year too.
Yeah, they've got some real firepower as well. Edgeworth's travelling really well. I think I covered the Graham Jennings medal against Lambton. It looked horrific, the conditions that day. It looked so hot on TV even, but they looked really solid. And I don't think they've conceded many goals. 4, yep. And yeah, some of the signings, I really like them. I like Rodwell and Harrison, and yeah.
Strike from range, no threat.
A few of the returning boys, Aaron Apetesano, Chris Fayers, Joe Melmoth, look good. Foots up front, he scores goals, and Flynn Goodman's in danger. So Jose Atadi, I think, has gone back this year. So I've only seen the one game of them, but yeah, just they looked really solid, and it's going to be an interesting fight for the top spot, I think.
They've got a nice run now, Edgeworth, to really get a look at them. As we said, they'll play Olympic tomorrow on Saturday. They then have Weston at home next week, and then the week after that, they're the match of the round against Azuri at Lyle Carr on Friday night under lights. So
yeah, right.
I think we'll have a very good measure of exactly where Edgeworth's sitting after that run of 3 games. Well, actually, they're back-to-back match of the rounds with Broadmeadow after that, so they've literally got the other 4 teams in the top 5 over the next 4 weeks.
Well, we're going to see where they're at after that, I'd say.
And certainly will give us a really good idea, I think, some of these games that are coming up over the next few weeks as to the makeup of, well, the ladder in general. Some other games this week that are interesting to look at. Valentine against Lambton. We know Lambton have not had the season they've been looking for. So close back up towards the finals race. And then, as I said, Cooksville and Azuri, New Lambton Bellswans, which will be a little bit later this afternoon, which is a key game in that relegation battle that's shaping up already, because we've obviously got the automatic relegation, then we've got the relegation playoffs. So lots of football, never too much.
Yeah, if New Lambton can get a win, I watched them recently, and they're actually playing decent football, probably not taking their chances. And again, we keep talking about that, don't we? And you see the importance of top quality strikers like this one.
Takes a strike. Scorer does well to deflect it and recover on the bounce. They almost had a 5th for the Bears late in this one.
But if New Lambton is to win, it'd be very tight, I think. Because there hasn't been much in the...
Referee says play on.
Yeah.
It doesn't amount to anything, though. Is it much the bemusement of the Western fans?
Yeah, Fudge.
He'd know all the tricks by now from his time around the traps, wouldn't he, if anyone knows them? And, of course, if all those games that we just talked through in the men's competition aren't enough, we've also got the NPL women's competition running through the weekend, including the match of the round, which will be on Sunday, Broadmeadow versus Adamstown, a key game for 2 teams sitting outside the top 4, coming here from Magic Park. I'll be alongside Tara Andrews, former Matilda striker for that one. A striker, speaking of people who can score goals. Getting some people doing some drive-bys on Tara in the grandstand. I'm not going to name any names. That NPL women's competition heating up as well. Lots of big names getting around in it. Former Matildas and Jets players, former A-League stars, and I'm sure there'll be a few current A-League stars in a couple of weeks once the 30-day window passes for a number of our Jets A-League girls, and most particularly who've just wrapped up their season. And that's great to see when they come back, and the likes of Cassidy Davis and Lauren Allen, who both turn out for New Lambton. There's a few others as well that have been in the mix. I saw Lake Macquarie announce a couple of signings the other day, Milan Hammond, and trying to think of the other one. What was it, Josie Allen maybe?
No, Lara
Gooch, that's what it was.
Yeah, so, big signings. It's exciting. I see Cass in the office, and she's genuinely excited to go and play, which is good, isn't it? You love playing football, and coming back into the local comp, it's great. Adds a lot to it too, doesn't it? A lot of quality, and
Cass is an absolute weapon. The amount of games that she gets through, though, when you think about the Jets, and then she works in football. She comes and commentates as well, and then she's playing. Getting back into the NPL, loves the game. Farling's going to take this one. A late free in a dangerous position. The pack sits atop the 18-yard box. Can they find a 5th? Running the overlap down the right here, and that's where they go. Weston.
Well, I think that's the one time Verdo got forward all day, and possibly he should stay deeper.
Yeah, I think he might have lost his licence to range forward there at the end, but what an enthralling encounter it's been. Weston, the better of the two sides. But it's a statement for Weston. They're relentless, they're ruthless and dominant with their opportunities here at Adamstown, and the Anzac Cup will stay with them after that commanding performance. When a side does put together a performance like that, what does it say? You know, we talked about their potential, but what does that say for their trajectory this season? It bodes well.
I think it's big for Weston. Again, I talked about the Bell Swans game. They're the type of games in the past, they'll go and beat someone, a bigger club, and then they'll come out and lose points, and you'd see a result and go, how did that happen? We often at Edworth and at Magic found it hard to go up to Weston, and you'd lose a game there, and then the next week they'd drop points to someone down the lower in the table. I think this is a good sign that they've knocked off Bell, Swans and Adamstown. That sounds ridiculous, but I actually think that's showing that maybe this squad's a real deal, and their consistency's there, where in past years it hasn't been. So, yeah, I think they're a contender. When you've got that much firepower up front, yeah, you're going to be in a lot of matches.
Well, Weston showed it today. They're certainly amongst the contenders. We'll get a look at them further over the next few weeks. They take on Edgeworth and Azuri in their next 3 games alongside Valentine. So that'll give us a real measure of where they sit. For Adamstown, it's back to the drawing board. They will sit outside the top 5 for a little bit longer yet, but we know they've got some spark in this team. We saw some glimpses today. What they can deliver for the rest of the season, though, is the question. A big thank you on behalf of myself and Damien Zane for joining us for part of your Anzac Day. And remember, every men's and women's NPL first reserve grade match is streamed live and free right here on the Northern New South Wales Football YouTube channel. Until next time, this has been the Northern New South Wales Match of the Round. Thank you for tuning in.
And supporters that have been involved in various military conflicts over the years, so it was appropriate that the Anzac Cup is between those two great clubs. Sadly, on behalf of the Bucks, Western Bears win today's fixture and they retain the Anzac Cup. Honour, Club President James Dorcock from the Bucks to make the presentation to Lord Henderson. I just want to say thank you